Hello again. Now, I apologize for not posting a reading yesterday, but I was preparing for today's live stream, and with that in mind, which will be going live just as this video is, and with that in mind, let me read you a little poem I wrote. Let's call it God. All arguments for God are of the same form, some adjective or noun, let's call it God. Be it uncaused, unmoved, or even undesigned, supremely good, and the cause of everything from truth and beauty to our sense of the divine. Thus it becomes clear to me there is but one argument for God. Let's call it God. But in all that I can see, there is no attribute, no being, nor essence, no indeed no arbitrary adjective that cannot just as metaphorically apply to everything that is. So I wonder, is there anything more? Any argument or proof that does not mean in simple terms, let's call it God? Is that everything there is? So that's my counter to all theology in every field or in every religion, and I hope to see you there to discuss it with me. But with that out of the way, let's see if we can make some progress here. Unfortunately, I've been very bored with all of the last ones. They've just simply been, look at all of these past people. They were punished. Clearly, that means that it doesn't mean that we're wrong. It means that everyone who denies God, like all of these past people who were punished, they clearly denied God. Let's just comfort ourselves that we are in a fine tradition of everyone. God just doesn't want everyone to believe the truth, apparently. But in this chapter, this surah, we start with the title The Bee, a Meccan surah. It takes its title from the bee, inspired in its remarkable way by God. This is just one of the numerous examples given in the surah of God's grace and the many things people should be grateful for. The surah condemns the idolaters who attribute God's bounty to other powers and worship false deities. Abraham is given at the end as an example for the Muslim community to follow. Until verse 88, the surah is directed at the polytheists. From verse 90 and onwards, it teaches the Muslims in various ways. Verse 89 connects the two parts by naming the Prophet as witness to the believers and disbelievers of his community. Fascinating. The idolaters, so that kind of puts me in the idolater camp, putting other things as explanations to God, like the moon phases and things like the night being useful. I didn't really harp on about that kind of metaphorical phrasing, but last chapter there was a lot of statements regarding nature and the goodness nature provides for us in such a way that it sort of implies that God provided nature or made nature to exist for us, kind of like the dictum to Adam at the outset. Like, these are all your beasts. They all belong to you to use as you will. Where I would put other explanations for that. Other explanations. Nature, I'll put in like evolution by natural selection, or indeed any other mechanism for the diversity of life. And this would, in a sense, in a very, very limited, naive sense, be putting other things at the place of God. Other explanations for the things God's grace. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong before. Specifically in this reading even. I've started out with this introduction and ended up being completely wrong at the end. But let's see. Maybe God's grace is actually better proven through theology than through nature. Or indeed through science. So, God's judgment is coming. So do not ask to bring it on sooner. Glory be to him. He is far above anything they join with him. In context of the rest of the Quran, do not ask to bring it any sooner. This is just all of the people asking for proof. Prove your claims. Prove your claims. Why are you just insisting that this is how it's gonna be? They all said, well, then just bring it on me. Just give it to me. Just bring this punishment you insist on. This was the message given to all of the messengers in Surah 13, I believe. 13, maybe 14. Maybe 14. Maybe both, honestly. The idea being, critics say, bring it on. Bring me your punishment. Bring me the thing you claim. Bring me the proof. Like I say, I look forward to meeting with God at the end, because I don't think it's gonna happen. So I'm excited for this impossible thing you're telling me is not only possible but certain. He sends down angels with inspirations at his command to whichever of his servants he chooses, to give his warning. There is no God but me, so beware of me. He created the heavens and earth for a true purpose, and he is far above whatever they join with him. He created man from a drop of fluid, yet man openly challenges him. And livestock, he created them too. You derive warmth and other benefits from them. You get food from them. You find beauty in them when you bring them home to rest and when you drive them out to pasture. They carry your loads to lands you yourselves could not reach without great hardship. Truly, your Lord is kind and merciful. Horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and use for show, and other things you know nothing about. God points out the right path, for some paths lead the wrong way. If he wished, he could guide you all. If he wished, he could... I'm kind of hearing the arguments, like the back and forth. This sounds like reading, like if you hear a debate and you see like a transcription of it, this is kind of like reading half of that. It's kind of like only reading one side of the transcription of a debate, because you kind of get the impression that somebody is like challenging, like a man is openly challenging Muhammad's word, or challenging God. In the eyes of Muhammad and the Muslims, this is practically the same thing. But the insistence here being, he created the heavens and earth for true purpose. He is far above whatever they join. Like as a response to this kind of iterative challenge, this being like, well, how great is he? I think this and that explains, and then it's an assertance. It's insisting on its own point of view, insisting that this is the truth. I'm only telling you the truth. Everything I say is the truth because I say it's the truth. Whereas it feels very much like half of a discussion. And if I'd heard the other half, I think this would be much more tedious, honestly, much less impressive, and much more basic and frankly stupid. But perhaps this is just my critical mind wondering, I'm wondering, why were there no one to ask these doubtful questions? Well, they were clearly driven off with the vague threats of punishment in the next life. You carry loads to your lands you yourselves could not reach without great hardship. Truly, your Lord is kind and merciful. Horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and use for show, and other things you know nothing about. Sorry, I've been thinking a lot about theology, and the appeal to ignorance argument, the God of the gaps argument, is very fascinating. There are things we do not know about. Indeed, there are. Very, very good, very impressive. God points out the right path, for some paths lead the wrong way. If he wished, he could guide you all. It is he who sends down water from the sky, which comes as a drink for you, and the shrubs you feed to your animals. With it, he grows for you grain, olives, palms, vines, and all other kinds of crops. There truly is a sign in this for those who reflect. There truly is a sign in this for those who reflect, insisting on its veracity. There truly is, indeed. The sign is artificial selection, how we breed crops. Our understanding of nature is much more complex. And there is a sign in this. Not necessarily that there's a God. There's a sign in nature for us to understand. Some pattern for us to understand. But implicitly here, presumably, there is a sign in the sense that we should see God in this. We should see God in all of these things at the point they could not possibly comprehend. The nature of design, or design itself, the creation itself, looks so beautiful and pretty and gives you so many things, apparently. It truly is a sign, this, for those who... I mean, it's such an offensive line of reasoning. Like, we're just wiser than you. We have actually so much... We've just reflected on the beauty of nature, on the grand miracle of all that exists, and we've concluded that it is God who explains it best. That's what this is saying. It's pretentious twaddle. By his command he has made the night and day, the sun, moon, and stars, all of benefit to you. Okay. There truly are signs in this for those who use their reason. All of benefit for you. The sign here is we are adapted to our environments, not the other way around. The environment isn't to benefit us. We are adapted to survive in this environment. The sun gives us all of the heat and energy we need to survive. All of life thrives off of this entropic... I was going to make a cool phrase, but like this blowing away of entropy in our world, of this ordering given by this excess of energy and these biomechanical processes. These are all adapted. But there is also all of this goodness the sun is giving us. It's also the thing that causes skin cancer. It's also the thing that causes global warming, that causes cycles like ice ages. The sun, not a god, not a conscious being at all, just a mechanical process, a physical process ongoing. But it doesn't really benefit us or harm us. I mean, overall, I guess it does benefit us that it exists, but the nature that exists is designed to make most use out of the resources available to it. It's a reaction to the resources available to it, rather than made for our benefit. We are made to make most use out of what we have. So we are made in the earth's image, and then we made God in our image. And so I guess it goes full circle. But he has made of benefit to you the many colored things he has multiplied on the earth. There truly are signs in this. For those who take it to heart. There truly are, indeed. This is not... this is really annoying when you repeat it. It's just pretentious twaddle. And I'm assuming, like, indeed in it that surely is a sign for people who remember. So all of this, half of the fucking surah, half of the fucking verse, is just to be able to say, actually, we're very smart for having seen all of the things you haven't seen. What fucking nonsense. It is he who has made the sea of benefit to you. You eat fresh fish from it and bring out jewelry to wear. You see ships cutting through its waves so that you may go in search of his bounty and give even boats that we made for the purpose of going into water, that we specifically designed so that we could go into water. Oh, but God could have made it so that no ship... We reacted to the environment we were given. It isn't all to benefit us. It's the same sea that causes floods. It's the same sea that causes tsunamis. It's the same sea that causes all of the bad things. But our ability to adapt and overcome, that's what's impressive here. Not... Maybe that is his divinity. The true divinity was in us all along. He has made mountains stand firm on the earth to prevent it shaking under you, and rivers and paths so that you may find your way, and landmarks and stars to guide people. That's why they're there. Can he who creates be compared to one who cannot create? Why do you not take heed? Because I have no reason to believe that he actually created all of it. And simply given assurances from you that the voice you're speaking with, the voice Mohammed is apparently speaking with, is the voice of this creator and nothing else. That has only been guaranteed by his own words. It is simply the words, my words against his. I do not take heed from empty threats from a vain and capricious God. If you try to count God's blessings, you could never take them all in. He is truly most forgiving and most merciful. As with a colon there, it's not just a punctuation, this random praising of God. Apparently, because we could never take them all in. He is the most forgiving and most merciful. What does that imply to you? That implies to you that we needed forgiveness, does it not? He knows what you conceal and what you reveal. Those who they invoke beside God create nothing. They are themselves created. Ditto. God is a creation of your mind, as we will show today on stream. They are dead, not living. They do not know when they will be raised up. Neither do you. You've said so several times. You do not know the date of the day of judgment. Only God knows. And God, being a person, like the person you're communicating, isn't telling you. So how do you know that God knows? Except God tells you that He knows. Like even if literally God spoke to Mohammed, it seems like a very gullible man. It seems like a person who listened to some voices and got, that must be God. It can't be the devil. It can't be schizophrenia. It can't be any other mental disease. It has to be God. Presumably, everyone around him was just as gullible. Your God is the one God. As for those who deny the life to come, their hearts refuse to admit the truth, and they are arrogant. Yes, we're arrogant for rejecting your claims of certainty. That's so arrogant of us. Our hearts refuse to admit the truth. Our hearts refuse to admit the truth. That's why we disagree with you. That's what disagreement means. We're just too obstinate and arrogant. We're never going to change our minds. Actually, it's the Muslims who are right and everyone else is wrong. And they're not going to change their minds to come over to our side just because they're too arrogant. It's not that we're too arrogant for not considering an alternative. It's not that the idea of denying the life to come is simply stated as a refusal to admit the truth, as if it was simply known to everyone, as it was simply the state of being that everyone knows that there is a life to come, apart from it just being a useful moral philosophical concept. There is no doubt that God knows what they conceal and what they reveal. He does not love the arrogant. Well, have I got some points to make? When they are asked, not self-loving is what I wanted to say. When they are asked, what has your Lord sent down? They say, ancient fables. Yes, what have you sent down? Nothing more than ancient fables. On the day of resurrection, they will bear full weight of their own burden, as well as some of the burden of those they misled with no true knowledge. With no true knowledge. Everyone believes they're right, regardless of whether or not they're right. Being wrong is here a burden. Like you will, on the day of resurrection, you will suffer for being wrong. I keep getting told I'm misreading and mistranslating it, misunderstanding it, as well as some of the burden of those they misled with no true knowledge. If you don't have true knowledge and you're wrong about reality and you state that, you're going to bear the burden of the people who listen to you. Well, by that same logic, by that same argument, so will all of you who are trying to mislead me with this vapid nonsense. How terrible their burden will be. Those who went before them also schemed, but God attacked the very foundations of what they built. The roof fell down on them. Punishment came on them from unimagined directions. Punishment again. In the end, on the day of resurrection, He will shame them, saying, where are these partners of mine on whose account you opposed me? Those given knowledge will say, shame and misery on the disbelievers today. And the gloating. Those whose lives the angels take while they are wronging themselves will show submission. We were doing no evil. Yes, you were. God knows fully everything you have done, so enter the gates of hell. There you will remain. The home of the arrogant is evil indeed. So, while they are wronging themselves, say we were doing no evil. I agree with that moral philosophy, by the way. If you're the right to ruin, I call it. Your life is the only life you have the right to ruin. I think it stems from our inability to have our inability to have true knowledge, to use a phrase I just learned. Our inability to have this certain knowledge is what allows us to always ruin our own lives. If we genuinely believe this is the best way for our lives to change over time, become itself, then you play out. That's the word, play out. If we believe that this is the best way for our life to play out, then we will do so. And doing so should not be considered an act of evil. It's simply an act of ignorance. But here indeed we are making it clear that through these two verses, the home of the arrogant. Arrogance is evil. The arrogance of rejection. The arrogance of not accepting that the Muslims are telling the truth. That is so arrogant you will go to hell for it. You will go to hell for not simply listening and believing. When the righteous are asked, "What has your Lord sent down?" they will say, "All that is good." There is a reward in this present world for those who do good, but their home in the hereafter is far better. The home of the righteous is excellent. This is a fun moral philosophy, I find. They will say, "All that is good." The Lord only sends down the good thing. Be grateful. They will enter perpetual gardens graced with flowing streams. There they will have everything they wish. This is the way God rewards the righteous. Those whose lives the angels take in a state of goodness, they will say to them, "Peace be upon you. Enter the garden as a reward for what you have done." Are the disbelievers waiting for the angels to come to them, or your Lord's judgment? Those who went before them did the same. God did not wrong them. They wronged themselves. It was not bad of God. So it says here, it was not bad of God to punish them for not believing. They punished themselves for not believing. If only you're doing it to yourself. It's like there's a scene in The Simpsons where Bart and Lisa are very upset at each other, but they don't want to start a fight, but they do want to start a fight. So Bart starts swinging his arms around and saying, "Well, I'm just swinging my arms around. If you walk in, I'm just going to walk through the room. If you walk into them, that's your own fault." And Lisa does something similar. And so they eventually end up in a fight. This seems very much like the same thing. God is saying, "I'm just going to punish the people who don't believe in me. If you actually don't believe in me, then it's your fault that you got punished." No, it's God's fault still. God is the punisher. God is the just Lord, apparently. And we are not permitted to even question his justice because he is so great, so magnificent. He created everything. Surely he knows better. Surely it is arrogant to question our betters. That is what this statement is saying. That is what this book is telling you. It is arrogant to question your betters. I contend that in fact you should be arrogant. At least if this is what arrogance is. So the evil they had done hit them, and they were surrounded by the very thing they had mocked. Those who worshipped others alongside God say, "If God had willed, we would not have worshipped anything but him, nor would our fathers. We would not have declared anything forbidden without his sanction." Those before them said the same. Are the messengers obliged to do anything other than deliver their message clearly? We will not believe that their message was actually given from somebody else. If we do not believe their message if we believe their message was a lie, then clearly they've done everything they could. Clearly, the tyrant who sent them with the message isn't the one to blame, at least. These messengers who gained a lot of power, wealth, and influence from being messengers, these kinds of people certainly do not get a free pass. But more importantly, neither does the person or the being that they carried a message for. These were messengers for a tyrant. And as we can see very clearly by how this tyrant behaves. We sent a messenger to every community saying, "Worship God and shun false gods." Among them were some God-guided, misguidance took hold of others. So travel the earth and see what was the fate of those who denied the truth. Though you, prophet, may be eager to guide them, God does not guide those who misguide others, nor will they have anyone to help them. This is like I'm saying, all of the past surahs have just been these sort of comforting messages to missionaries, to preachers. Like, there will be some who don't listen to you, some who don't believe. Don't worry yourself. It feels like you need to teach them, you need to guide them, but don't worry yourself. Calm yourself, accept the things you cannot change. That is a good message. However, it is constantly intertwined with this message of, well, if only they had believed. Yes, I understand that. So the argument has been made that if you genuinely believe that your friends are going to hell, you would restrict their freedom to prevent them from doing the things that lead them to go to hell. There's the argument was basically made to me, I think, in Penn autobiography, whereas you imagine somebody who's like standing in the way of a oncoming train, you jump in and you push them out of the way, even though that pushing action is like a violation of their freedom. You can't help this natural instinct to save them. And in such a way, if you genuinely believe that all of these disbelievers are going to hell, you might feel overwhelmingly in the need to guide them to the truth, to the true path, while they are themselves rejecting your path as nothing but nonsense, and ridiculing your path as soon as it becomes tedious, as it is becoming, by the way. This is just a repetition. I'm so bored. I'm so incredibly bored. I thought that the Quran was going to be better than the Bible, which has all of these annoying tables of dead people, and it doesn't have that annoying list of all of the people from Adam to Jesus, because that's apparently important. This has just a random repetition, all of the constant repetition. All of the past 4 or 5 surahs have just been the same point. So the same kind of statement, the same, it does make sense if you want to group the Quran into different chapters. This, the first set of chapters was the law, maybe you had a short introduction, but even quite immediately in 2 we get the law, and it goes all the way up to Surah 9, from Surah 2 to 9, laws, rules, and then 10 to this is basically just comfort yourself with your own zealotry. Your own faith should be your shield against the faithless. Against the fact that there are people who disbelieve, you must comfort yourself with the God knows best. The same comforting phrase you use to soothe yourself when you ask yourself, why am I suffering? The same statement you should say to the people who reject you or reject your faith. God does not guide those who misguide others. Ditto. They have sworn by God with their strongest oaths that he will not raise the dead to life. But he will. It is his binding promise, though most people do not realize it. Most people don't believe it. That's what he means by realize here. In order to make clear for them that they have differed about that, and so that the disbelievers may realize what they said was false. It is his binding promise in order to make clear to them that they had differed about that, and so the disbelievers may realize that you could do it a little bit faster, you pretentious twat. You will only do it as punishment. Only when the test is done, only then will you prove to us, only then will you give this evidence. We demand some evidence. We demand something at all. And the answer is, well, you wouldn't believe me no matter what I got, so you're not getting anything, and you're only going to get proof when you're punished. This is a petty, capricious tyrant God. If that were true, if he genuinely did not care to give us proof, then the punishment for not believing, the punishment for rejecting God, is clearly one that he intends to inflict on us. This is a sadist God. And yes, I have seen The Atheists and Dr. Zadir Naik, I think his name was. When we will something to happen, all we say is be, and it is. As for those who emigrated in God's cause after being wrong, we shall give them a good home in this world, but the reward of the hereafter will be far greater, if only they knew it. They are the ones who are steadfast and put their trust in the Lord. Yes, comfort yourself with no matter how hard things may be, at least you'll have the afterlife. At least you'll have heaven. Prophet, all the messengers we sent before you were simply men to whom we had given the revelation. You people can ask those who have knowledge if you do not know. You can ask those who have knowledge. Not those who have delusions, those who have knowledge. What if you ask somebody who is knowledgeable among you and they say something else than the Quran says? Well, clearly they didn't have true knowledge. Clearly they were just misleading you. Is this such a self-fulfilling prophecy? It's such a... Well, of course there are going to be people who disbelieve, but they're just rejecting. Their hearts are just closed to the truth. It's not that they have a better understanding of reality than you do. Their hearts are close to the truth. It's not you who have a heart that's close to the truth. It's everyone else. Do you not use your reason? Do you not see how ridiculous this is? We sent them with clear signs and scriptures. We have sent down the message to you too, prophet, so that you can explain to people what was sent for them, so that they may reflect. Are those who plan evil so sure that God will not make the earth swallow them up, that punishment will not come on them from some unimagined direction, that it will not catch them suddenly in the midst of their comings and goings, for they cannot frustrate God, or that it will not catch up with them gradually? Indeed, your Lord is kind and merciful. So, are we so certain? No, we don't need to be so certain. We just need to be uncertain. And it is from our uncertainty that we do not think that God will chase it after us. It is from our ignorance we think there is no God, because we have no reason to think there is a God. This is not a good reason. This is a lack of reason. This is an order to believe in God or else. So indeed, let's call it God. We have no reason. Belief in God, as I am going to reiterate on stream today, belief in God is where reason goes to die. Do the disbelievers not observe the things that God has created, casting their shadows right and left, submitting themselves to God obediently? No, I don't do that. I definitely don't see the things God has created submitting himself to him, unless God is literally just nature, the laws of nature. Let's call it God, I guess. It is to God that everything in the heavens and earth submits. Every beast that moves, even the angels, they are free from arrogance. They fear their Lord above them, and they do as they are commanded, as their nature commands them. Let's call it God. God said, "Do not take two gods, for he is the one God. I alone am the one that you should hold in awe." Did he though? When did we hear that? Or did you tell us that he said that? Everything in the heavens and earth belongs to him. Everlasting obedience is his right. Everlasting obedience is his right. Tyrant God, petty God, childish, pathetic God, blood God, death God, ruthless Lord God. Whatever good things you possess come from God, and when hardship afflicts you, it is to him alone you cry out for help. Let's call it God, nature. Whenever good things you possess come from God, and when you don't get the good, you call out to nature. You call out to reality. Everything that is. Yet when he has relieved you of your hardship, lo and behold, some of you attribute partners to your Lord. Let them show ingratitude for the favors we have shown them. Enjoy your brief time. Soon you will know. Yeah, don't be ungrateful, or I'm going to punish you a lot. Be grateful for everything I've given you, all of the good and all of the hardships as well. Because when the hardships hit, that's when you're most faithful, as we see. Most people are more religious the more they suffer. Or at least the areas. People are drawn to faith the more suffering they experience. They set aside part of the sustenance we give them for idols about which they have no true knowledge. By God you will be questioned about your false inventions. Oh, my nose is itching. They assign daughters to God. May he be exalted. And the sons they desire to themselves. They assign daughters. Yeah, that's apparently part of the mythology of the period. Very interesting. I don't really want to go into depth with this, but like the past polytheistic beliefs often had a much sort of closer relationship between the divine and the artificial, the human. The gods were often interacting with us actively rather than sort of just every now and then picking out someone to tell us that there is only one God. which is apparently how God actually operates. He doesn't operate by constantly interfering in our lives in weird and disjointed ways, as you would expect from many gods, or indeed from an unthinking nature. He actually just does it on purpose. How crass and cruel a God. When one of them is given news of the birth of a baby girl, his face darkens and he is filled with gloom. In his shame, he hides himself away from his people because of the bad news he has been given. Should he keep her and suffer contempt, or bury her in the dust? How ill they judge. Those who do not believe in the hereafter should have the contemptible image, and God should have the highest one. He is the mighty, the wise. That's kind of interesting. What it implies here is there was a lot of, obviously we know there was a lot of sexism in the past. We've even seen it in this book, that women should only inherit half of the equivalent of what a man in their equivalent position. Brothers should inherit twice what their sisters do. And sons double what daughters do. So clearly this was a very sexist period. Here it sort of implies this level of, this even more fundamental level of this sort of almost like I don't know how true these are, but like the stories we've heard from China about baby girls being abandoned, whereas baby boys were treasured. And this sort of one-child policy, I think they stopped that now because they have an age wave coming. Maybe should have stopped a little bit earlier, but yeah. So it seems like obviously this is like one of those fun things where in religion, I very much appreciate the fact that religion was a progress in moral philosophy. Like other moral philosophers, they've made significant amounts of progress throughout the ages. And this seems to be one of them, where Mohammed is like rejecting this not just like this anti-human sexism, this misanthropic sexism, this rejection of life, because women are not like daughters they give to God. Apparently it sounds more like they're actually sacrificing their female children to God or to their gods, and they're sort of rationalizing their willingness to sacrifice the women. And of course to Muhammad, the important, and it makes sense morally and philosophically, like you want to separate your culture from their culture. You want to insist that our culture, we believe in the one God. We don't do these kinds of things. We don't sacrifice infant girls to any god, whether the one true God or whatever other gods they might have put up. That's important to his understanding, and so that very very empathetic to that project. If that is what I'm reading in this, it seems to be sort of a rejection of the culture of where he came from, a rejection of the gods of his forefathers, so to speak, which we should do too. We should also progress past this. Sure, there are truths in here, good truths, and when we stand on top of them, we use those truths and then build upon them. Like, what? Well, we shouldn't kill female infants. Maybe we shouldn't also give them half of the inheritance. Maybe we should make it so that women are more willing and capable of working, so that we gain more for our societies. Because their labor is more useful for our societies than simply child rearing. Imagine how dull it would have been, this world, if Marie Curie had spent her entire life caring for children instead of discovering radiation. Though I suppose she would have lived longer, so maybe she would have preferred the former. But everyone else, we deserve the latter. If God took people to task for the evil they do, he would not leave one living creature on earth, but he reprieves them until an appointed time. When their time comes, they cannot delay it for a moment, nor can they bring it forward. The proof only comes in the form of punishment. Nothing, like, clearly somebody has been telling Muhammad nothing of this makes sense. Somebody has been like me and just said, your arguments don't make any sense, I'm not convinced. And he's going to say, can you prove it to me? And he said, the only proof you're going to get, if you're going to be this obstinate and arrogant for not listening to me, or arrogant is his phrasing, for not listening to me, then you're only going to get your proof at the end. Well, I look forward to it. That is the only proof you could possibly give me that would be convincing. They attribute to God what they themselves dislike, while their own tongues utter the lie that the best belongs to them. Without doubt, it is the fire that belongs to them. They will be given priority there. They attribute to God what they themselves dislike, while their own tongue. I think it's kind of fascinating, because the lie that the best belongs to them. So very many ways to interpret that phrasing. I guess that's why we need to learn Arabic to really be able to criticize this. We need to read the hadith so that I'm not so arrogant. These are the learned men who are only telling the truth, not themselves fools, deluded fools. By God, we have sent messengers before you, Mohammed, to other communities, but Satan made their foul deeds seem alluring to them. He is the patron of these present disbelievers too, and painful punishment awaits them all. We have sent down the scripture to you only to make clear to them what they differ about, and as guidance and mercy to those who believe. It is God who sends water from the sky, and with it revives the earth when it is dead. There truly is a sign in this for people who listen. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself too many. Let's call it God. In Livestock 2, you have a lesson. We give you a drink from the contents of their bellies, between waste matter and blood, pure milk, sweet to the drinker. From the fruits of date palms and grapes, you take sweet juice and wholesome provisions. There truly is a sign in this for people who use their reason. Okay, let's take it. Now, I'm always offended by the use of reason here, because reason would reject this kind of reasoning. The attempt here is to imply that people are deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid for not believing, not seeing the signs from nature and seeing them as a sign of God. Well, they can only be deaf, dumb, and blind and stupid. That's the only way they could possibly see something else than what you see. That's the only area in which disagreement could come from. They do not listen. They do not use their reason. What vapid nonsense, what sophistry it is to try and sweep away criticism. We have a name for it. It's called poisoning the well. And your Lord inspired the bee, saying, build yourselves houses in the mountains and trees and what people construct. Then feed on all kinds of fruit and follow the ways made easy for you by your Lord. From their bellies come a drink of different colors in which there is a healing for people. There truly is a sign in this for people who think. Oh, we're unthinking now, too. Be like bees. Obedient bees, I guess. That's the title. Shall we go for it? I need to sit up for this. Oh, goodness. It is God who created you and in time will cause you to die, or nature. Some of you will be reduced in old age to a most abject state, so that, after having full knowledge, they will know nothing at all. God is truly all-knowing and all-powerful. I mean, to be clear, it makes so much sense if it's just a word for nature. Like, the understanding that all of nature is interconnected, all of nature is one, instead of sort of giving power to the wind versus the water and giving like different rules to everything. There's one nature, one set of rules, one set of physics, like the quantum mechanics of reality, the space-time of reality, whatever these rules really are on the mathematical end of things. They're all sort of interconnected and bound together in this one reality. And so if God is this word for everything that is, this byword for nature, this metaphor for nature, that's for some reason been anthropomorphized and given a personality and given desires and wants and beyond simply the laws of nature, given sort of social desires for how people should live instead of simply that being a reaction to nature. Like when you think of it as purely as a metaphorical analysis of nature and sort of all our position in reality is like governed by this. We will lose our lives to nature. We will lose our we will gain benefits to nature. We will call out to nature when we need aid. Like this ability to sort of recognize this recognizing this as a metaphor makes it very nice, very pretty, very fascinating, very understanding of the complexity of reality, and the sort of rejection of idols becomes more a rejection of overly simplistic and halfway explanations for things. When we have better access to the whole, we can sort of analyze the whole. I'm thinking about this as a like epistemological tool, a way of gaining knowledge about framing our knowledge about reality. That's quite nice. But why call it God? Why not call it nature? Yeah. God has given some of you more provision than others. Those who have been given more are unwilling to pass their provision on to the slaves they possess so that they become their equals. How can they refuse to acknowledge God's blessings? So that they become their equals. Yeah, treat your slaves well. I'm glad that this is one of those good passages. Like, how can they refuse to acknowledge God's blessings? And it is God who has given you spouses from amongst yourselves, and through them he has given you children and grandchildren and provided you with good things. How can they believe in falsehood and deny God's blessings? How indeed. Those they worship beside God have no power to provide anything for them from the heavens or the earth. They can do nothing. So do not make up images about God. God knows and you do not. God presents this illustration: a slave controlled by his master, with no power over anything, and another man we have supplied with good provision, from which he gives alms privately and openly. Can they be considered equal? All praise belongs to God, but most of them do not recognize this. Can they be considered equal? Okay, God presents us an illustration: a slave controlled by his master with no power over anything, and another man we've supplied with good provision, from which... Interesting. I was supposed to go live at this point. I'm going to go ahead and warn... Oh, my apologies. That was a bit loud. I'm going to move this. So, a slave controlled by his master, no power over anything, another man who have supplied with good provision. Which, can they be considered... Is this an argument of power making you better? Or, like, is this another appeal to, like, gratitude? You should be grateful you're not the slave. Oh, oops. Let's move that over here. There we go. Actually, let's not do that. My apologies for the distraction. Okay, let's continue with the illustration. I mean, for me, this implies certain negative things about how God makes his argument, but let's go on. God presents another illustration: two men, one of them dumb, unable to do anything, a burden to his carer. Whatever task he directs him to, he achieves nothing good. Can he be considered equal to one who commands justice and is on the straight path? Commands justice and is on the straight path. Maybe. Like, how do you know? Our ignorance about both of these characters is what makes them equal. Our lack of understanding. Perhaps the man who's dumb and unable to do anything, maybe he is doing something very productive, very genius in its own way. Like, I was watching a StarCraft 2 tournament, and like this player, it was remarked that he did things that other people always do wrong. He did them right. But the things that they always did right, the easy things, he often made mistakes in. But the things that were difficult, that were impossible for others to achieve, he did seemingly with ease. So there is such variety in our natures and our beings that it indeed he can be considered equal. A slave can be considered equal. They might not be equal in the amount of goodness God has given them, but there is certainly equal in their natures, in their ability to see something. I mean, being a burden to his carer might also just be a bad carer, right? It's the understanding here is, yeah, he can be considered equal to someone who commands justice and is on the straight path, because we do not know precisely what it means to command justice and be on the straight path, and perhaps we have simply confused the two. Although perhaps one who commands justice is one who has power, so we should again be grateful for God's gift of power to us. All that is hidden from view in the heavens and earth belongs to God. The coming of the hour of judgment is like the blink of an eye, or even quicker. God has power over everything. It is God who brought you out of your mother's wombs knowing nothing, and gave you hearing and sight and minds, so that you might be thankful. Do they not see the birds made to fly through the air and the sky? Nothing holds them up except God and the air underneath their wings, and they're flapping. There truly are signs in this for those who believe. Yes, for those who already believe, those who hold a true, accurate belief in God. They will consider all of this as evidence, because only if you accept the conclusion does it make any sense. You have to start out believing the conclusion. It is God who has given you a place of rest in your homes, and from the skins of animals made you homes that you find light to handle when you travel and when you set up camp, furnishings and comfort for a while from their wool, fur, and hair. It is God who has given you shade from what he has created, and places of shelter in the mountains, garments to protect you from the heat, and garments to protect you in your wars. All of these things we make. But I guess it makes sense. It makes sense from nature. If God is the word for nature, we made these things from nature. In this way, he perfects his blessings on you, okay, so that you may devote yourselves to him. He perfects. So it's not just nature, it's our involvement in nature here. But if they turn away, prophet, your only duty is to deliver the message clearly. If they turn away. They know God's blessings, but refuse to recognize them. Most of them are ungrateful. Yeah. We're so ungrateful. That's why, don't be ingrates. The day will come when we raise up a witness from every community, when disbelievers will not be allowed to make excuses or amends. When the evildoers face punishment, it will not be lightened for them, nor will they be given any respite. When the idolaters see their partners they joined with God, the partners they joined with God, they will say, "Our Lord, these are the partners we used to invoke beside you." But the partners will retort, "You are liars." Will they indeed? I don't think they exist. Like these idolaters, I'm not anthropomorphizing nature. When I'm using nature, putting nature beside God, it's like, why? Of course, nature won't say that. Maybe God makes nature speak. Maybe God opens up a mouth in the earth and the earth speaks it. Sure, God could do that, but only on the day. And on that day, they will offer total submission to God. Their false deities will desert them. I can tell you right now, I will not. I will refuse and reject this tyrant until I have suffered forever. Because of the corruption they spread, we shall add torment upon torment for those who disbelieved and barred others from the path of God. Indeed. You will punish those who disbelieve, right? It's such a tyrannical religion, not just like believe this or else is built into it. It's like I read. That's how I read the sword surah, as I called it, the surah number 9, with the famous sword verse in it. This follows along very nicely. This complements that interpretation very nicely. Believe in what we tell you to believe, or die by the sword. Or die by God's judgment, I guess. Suffer from God's judgment. The day will come when we raise up in each community a witness against them, and we shall bring you prophet as a witness against these people, for we have sent the scripture down to you, explaining everything, and as guidance and mercy and good news to those who devote themselves to God. God commands justice, doing good, and generosity towards relatives, and he forbids what is shameful, blameworthy, and oppressive. He teaches you so that you may take heed. And if we find anything oppressive in what God is telling us, God's commands are, then clearly we haven't understood them right. Clearly only God can tell us. Clearly we're too stupid. Clearly we should trust God and not. This appeal to authority is so strange because it does rejects the whole game of telephone. God spoke to Muhammad, who spoke to people at his time, who then many years later decided this is what Muhammad actually had said. And oh no, but they all remembered it so clearly, and their recitations were so exact. They agreed on so many things. It's unthinkable that they cooperated. It's unthinkable even that they made the same mistake. What madness. What madness. This is sort of, like, I'm not sure I've explained it correctly, but this text is giving you the intellectual out to doubt. Or like saying, you don't need to doubt. Everyone who doubts is actually bad. If you're doing doubting, you're not doing faith right. If you're doing faith right, you're not doubting properly. It's like, and if you're doubting, you're just arrogant. It's not that you're rejecting the arrogance of others and telling you they know the voice of God. By doubting, you are the arrogant one because you are rejecting God. You're not speaking to the men who tell you what God's voice is. You're speaking to God himself. That is the arrogance. That is the poison. That is the evil this book represents. Unlike all of the other religious interpretation, this book insists that any criticism is in itself an act of evil. How disgusting. But let's go on. Fulfill any pledge you make in God's name, and do not break oaths after you've sworn them, for you have made God your surety. God knows everything you do. Do not use your oaths to deceive each other, like a woman who unravels the threads she has firmly spun, just because one party may be more numerous than another. God tests you with this, and on the day of resurrection he will make clear to you the things you differed about. So, again, reading this as a response to criticism, just because one party may be more numerous than another, like, I mean, you can use the same argument but right back at them. It's like, all these people couldn't be wrong. Well, like, people have used this argument against me, and I should just be quoting this part of the Quran and just saying, well, actually, in the Quran, your reasoning for how certainly you know the hadith, certainly you know the word of the Prophet, just because one party may be more numerous than another. That's the appeal I've heard every time the hadiths. It's like, well, they all agree with each other. It's like, well, just because one party may be more numerous than each other doesn't mean we should take it as word. Perhaps we could find it by the. And do not. Yeah. As a community, it is. Yeah. I don't know how to translate it to the Arabic, but this statement, just because one party may be more numerous than another. Yeah, rejection of that. If God so willed, he would have made you all one people, but he leaves to stray whoever he will and guides whoever he will. You will be questioned about your deeds. Do not use your oaths to deceive each other, lest any foot should slip after being firmly placed, and lest you should taste the penalty of having hindered others from the path of God, and suffer terrible torment. Do not sell for a small price any pledge made in God's name. What God has to give is better for you, if you only knew. What you have runs out. Well, what God has endures, and we shall certainly reward those who remain steadfast according to the best of their actions. To whoever, male or female, does good deeds and has faith, every time insisting that having faith is a part of the reward. You only get reward for having faith. Doing good deeds is not enough. Having faith is a part of the whole thing. It's an equating two things that should not be equated. We shall give good life and reward them according to the best of their actions. Prophet, when you recite the Quran, seek God's protection from the outcast, Satan. He has no power over those who believe and trust in their Lord. So, doubt, deceit, confusion, all of the things Satan, like rejection and rebellion, has no power over those who believe. Of course, the tyrant would say so. His power is only over those who ally themselves with him and those who, because of him, join partners with God. When we substitute one revelation for another, and God knows best what he reveals, they say, you are just making it up. But most of them have no knowledge. You are just making it up. Yeah, when you repeat the same revelation, and there's subtle nuances. It's exactly like the Joseph Smith. See, this is why religions only survive from the past. Because they're clearly just making it up. And even here you have it like the accusation, just making it up, and even like talking about the situation when God substituted one revelation. God did it, not me, not Mohammed. I did not tell you the revelation wrong. It was God actually who revised what he wanted to tell us. He chose how much he wanted to reveal. It's not me making it up. It's God. It's God who's actually changing what he wants to show you. More likely explanation, Muhammad was fucking making it up. Just like Joseph Smith was, just like Jesus Christ was, just like every single fucking retard in the history of theology was just making shit up. This is where reason goes to die, and as soon as it has died, they invent whatever delusions they need to comfort themselves at the death of their own reason. But indeed, most of us have no knowledge. We don't have the true knowledge of God's goodness. We haven't had it revealed. It seems that only the critics, only the skeptics, only the people who doubt, those are the people who are always chosen. Those are Satan's children, the doubters. Indeed, I ascribe to this family quite graciously. Say that the Holy Spirit has brought the revelation with the truth step by step from your Lord to strengthen the believers and as guidance and good news to the devout. We know very well that they say it is a man who teaches him, but the language of the person they allude to is foreign, while this revelation is in clear Arabic. Okay, the language of the person they allude to is foreign, while this revelation is... Like, what? Because Arabic is only spoken by God? What are you talking about? What should we... Well, let's look it up. I'm closing in on... I should have been live right now, but let's look up that exact nonsense there. Nope, nothing. Oh, this was from the wrong passage. My apologies. Too fast. Where is it? So this I should have, because this translation is quite bad. I just realized when opening my book. It says, if people do not believe in God's revelation... No, sorry. We know very well they say it is a man who teaches him, but the tongue of the person they maliciously allude to is incapable of expression, while this revelation is in clear Arabic. So the person who's literally transcribed this into the... Like, they're saying this is the translation by Abdul Halim, but apparently they've also translated it wrong and included the wrong words, which is very curious to me. Perhaps I should have read a different translation. I will actually go over to that, just because of that. Because foreign is very much insufficient. I assumed those kinds of connotations, but that's very sort of xenophobic connotations versus just a confused person. But it's still the same point, still the same argument, still the same logic. Oh, actually, the person they're talking about is talking nonsense, but this is true. This is clearly the truth. And if I repeat this is clearly the truth enough times in this book, like another 20 times per surah, then maybe some people will believe me. And lo and behold, so many people believe you because you have repeatedly insisted this is the truth enough times. And that isn't delusional at any point. If people do not believe in God's revelation, God does not guide them, and a painful punishment awaits them. Falsehood is fabricated only by those who do not believe in God's revelation. They are the liars. Only if you don't believe, you're a liar. Falsehood is fabricated only by those who do not believe in God's revelation. I should perhaps read it from the book now, just because we can. It's just so close to the end. One more page. There we go. Falsehood is fabricated only by those who do not believe in God's revelation. They are the liars. With the exception of those who are forced to say they do not believe, though their hearts remain firm in faith. Those who reject God after believing in him and open their hearts to disbelief will have the wrath of God upon them and a grievous punishment awaiting them. This is because they love the life of this world more than the one to come. And God does not guide those who reject him. These are the people whose hearts, hearing and sight have been closed off by God. They are the heedless. And there is no doubt that they will be the losers in the hereafter. But to those who leave their homes after... What? But your Lord... What? But to those... Yeah, it is very bad. But to those who leave their homes after persecution... Yeah, then strive... Okay. But your Lord will be most forgiving and most merciful to those who leave their homes after persecution, then strive and remain steadfast. On the day when every soul will come pleading for itself, every soul will be paid in full for all its actions. They will not be wronged. God presents the example of a town that was secure and at ease, with provisions coming to it abundantly from all places. Then it became ungrateful for God's blessing, so God afflicted it with a garment of famine and fear for what its people had done. This is like the Atlantis story. They were doing so well, and then they got proud and hubristic, and then the gods punished them, right? It's just the same stories I've heard 1,000 times before. It's all because of God. It's all because of our own actions. It's like this belief in humans to think we're very important in the whole of creation, in the whole of nature. Like everything was made for us. Everything we use is made for us. God genuinely, actively cares about our social lives. Like nature, like using it as a metaphor again, nature genuinely cares about our social lives. That is this sense of a self-importance that religion brings us. Which one of us is arrogant? The one who doesn't think nature cares, or the one that thinks everything is literally made for you? No, indeed, nature simply did not care. Nature simply did what nature did. After many years of feast, the land is overtilled and overworked, does not have enough nitrogen left in it, and so famine happens. And the rotting of the crops, or the withering away, tends to recycle. Of course, ashes are also very good at this. So in the case of like a volcanic eruption or a forest fire, you can have massive swings between bad and good. A messenger who was one of them came up to them, but they called him a liar. So punishment overwhelmed them in the midst of their evil doing. And one of the reasons I'm so contemptive of this kind of rationalization is that it always happens. All of the time there is somebody walking around us saying that the end is nigh, the end is coming. And as soon as anything bad happens, they say, we were right. See, this is what we were talking about. We were right. Like the ability to predict bad things, like the ability to predict that our prosperity will not be eternally increasing is amazingly trite and unimpressive. So yeah, we will call them liars, those who insist they have knowledge of God's will, as they should be. as they are even in Muslim communities, even in religious communities. We reject most of them until afterwards we say, after any bad thing, we say, oh, God must have wanted to punish us for something. We're not that important. Nature happens for other mechanical reasons. Like, the only thing that can possibly reasonably associated with this is the burning of fossil fuels, is the literally... I mean, we can explain the mechanisms of that too, and it happens sort of from our actions and from the limitations on biology to sort of sequester carbon dioxide quickly enough. But yeah, it does not make sense. So eat of the good and lawful things that God has provided for you, and be thankful for his blessings, if it is him that you worship. He has forbidden you only of these things: carrion, blood, pig's meat, and animals over which any name other than God's has been invoked. But if anyone is forced by hunger, not desiring it nor exceeding their immediate need, God is forgiving and merciful. Like, it's very easy to get distracted by this one. Well, at least if you're not, like, unless you're starving, right? It's just a cultural thing. You're just not supposed to eat carrion, blood, pig's meat, and animals over which any other name in God has been invoked. Apart from this last one being clearly the actions of a pretentious tyrant, the idea of, like, limiting God, why nature doesn't care that much? Why should God? Why call it God? Do not say falsely, this is lawful and that is forbidden, inventing a lie about God. Those who invent lies about God will not prosper. They may have a little enjoyment, but a painful punishment awaits them. Prophet, we forbade the Jews what we told you about. We did not wrong them, they wronged themselves. By not following our words, they wronged themselves. But towards those who do wrong out of ignorance and afterwards repent and make amends, your Lord is most forgiving and merciful. Abraham was truly an example, devoutly obedient to God and true in faith. He was not an idolater. He was thankful for the blessing of God who chose him and guided him to a straight path. We gave him blessings in this world, and he is among the righteous in the hereafter. Then we reveal to you, Mohammed, follow the creed of Abraham, a man of pure faith who was not an idolater. The Sabbath was made obligatory only for those who differed about it. On the day of resurrection, your Lord will judge between them as to their differences. Prophet, call people to the way of your Lord with wisdom and good teaching. Argue with them in the most courteous way, for your Lord knows best who has strayed from his way and who is rightly guided. If you believers have to respond to an attack, make your response proportionate. But it is best to stand fast. That's a good one. Maybe that one deserves to be in the book. So, Prophet, be steadfast. Your steadfastness comes only from God. Do not grieve over them. Do not be distressed by their scheming. For God is with those who are mindful of them. Good. Yeah, again, a comfort. Be comforted in your belief. Thank you very much for today's lesson. I will be live as this goes out. And we will be dealing with every single theological argument that has ever been made. And after which I might post the whole thing. It depends how long. I mean, I'm planning on going at least 6 hours, but we'll see. And then we will... I'll at very least give YouTube some evidence of this event. Because I think it is much as simple as my poem at the beginning suggested. See you there.